this guy won't leave. But I have this last panel, the restaking panel. I think this was the hottest topic for the first half of the year. And we've named it Restaking Stuff Summer. There has been, in my opinion, a shift in sentiment. So I want to bring in Freddie first. He's from Eigenlabs. Eigenlabs is essentially created this category, restaking. It started with them. Mike is from EtherFi. They created the LRT category. And back here is an investor in some of the technologies around these, but I believe did not invest in either of these protocols. And it's, I would say, his loss so far. But so Freddie, straight to you. Yep. What has gone wrong with the restaking narrative, if any? Because I believe that there has been a market change in sentiment.
I would argue that not much has gone wrong in restaking over summer. It's it's a pretty interesting title. What we've seen more is a drop in the Ethereum ETH price. So denominated in USD, the total TVL on Eigenlayer or restaked on Eigenlayer has dropped in USD terms quite significantly. But in ETH terms, the actual underlying ETH that's restaked on Eigenlayer, it topped out at about 5.2 million ETH was restaked at the top. In USD terms, that was $20 billion worth. And then now it's at about 4.65 million ETH is restaked. But during that time period, the ETH price has dropped like 50% or something, from 4,000 to 2,500, I think it is. So your question, what's happened in summer to restaking? I mean, we've progressed significantly. We've got a lot of exciting things happening. It's just the ETH price is the thing that's really dropped. So if you think about it in ETH terms, stakes, we're doing really well. There's been a bit of a rotation in the normal course of macroeconomics and in the crypto industry, a bit of a rotation of restake out in the normal course, but we're not concerned about it at all. There's super exciting things happening. We unlocked the Eigen token early this morning. We've got some amazing AVSs coming online, and we're really focused on the demand side of the Eigenlayer marketplace. So we're excited.
All right. I mean, I'm always on board to say that it's always ETH's fault. And of course, the price is terrible, and it is Vitalik and ETH's fault. So I'm on board with that idea. Mike, maybe you have a perspective on this. Maybe Eigenlayer hasn't experienced outflows, but the sentiment around LRTs and the ecosystem has been a little tough. So do you have a view? Do you believe it's still is restaking good, as Vitalik would maybe answer?
Well, I would say this. I mean, so we are still at all-time high as far as TVL. So we continue to grow, week after week, month after month. So we haven't seen any kind of outflow, but I do agree that I think the hype around restaking was so intense. For a moment in time, a period of several months, it was basically the narrative in Ethereum, maybe in all of crypto. And as crypto tends to do, there was a mania around it. Basically huge amounts of capital flowing in. People were expecting 40% APRs forever, as of course happens in real life. So I think we do have a bit of a descent to reality, and the reality is that this is very complex tech. It's going to take probably years for this stuff to fully mature and evolve and actually start producing rewards. But the work is happening. So I think maybe that's what's happened, is there's been a bit of a comeback to reality. But I'm still as bullish about restaking as I was from the very early days of EtherFi.
I think we've seen it play out a little bit where the promises aren't as the promises are too high and the delivery is a little not as beautiful, right? So restaking is also a misnomer right now, because you're not restaking ETH anymore. You're staking any asset. So you're staking Eigen, you're staking Alt, perhaps you're staking ETHFi as well. So is there, was the points program maybe too early? Was the, did the deposits open too early? Was that perhaps a contributor to the hype initially, and now a bit of a, like a come down from that hype? I know, Beck, you had an opinion on this.
Yeah, I mean, as an investor being in the space for now 8 years, it's always cyclical when the new primitive or the new mechanism design comes out, showing people that, hey, there's a new way of optimizing the yield or return on your investment. There's always overshoot of a hype. And there's always a correction that comes with it, whether that's through the macro or the market conditions in the crypto or a certain kind of event happening within the crypto industry. So I see this as a very natural progression and also a natural selection of the strong, I guess the fittest ones or the ones that are offering more than just a capital formation and yield, continue to grow in TVL or sustain the TVL. But the ones that were riding the wave together with this initial overshoot, you see the bell curve growth of a decline in the TVL and unable to recover this. So I think now with the launch of Eigenlayer token and other highly anticipated project coming to the market, I think we're starting to see, especially in LRT space, some of the projects becoming more creative, diversifying into other aspects rather than just focusing on the yield. So the next 6 months, I think will be also very interesting to see. Now that we're over with the hype, how do we go from here, and how the retail and the investors react on the future milestones that these projects propose for the people to follow and engage.
I threw out like some wild things there, so I do want to give Freddie a moment to respond. So, like, is restaking a misnomer? Do you believe that the points program and the deposits being open was too early, and then maybe the delivery was a little late, and that's being problematic?
I think being a sector definer or first mover, I mean, Eigenlayer and Sriram and the team pretty much created restaking, the restaking concept. So when you're a first mover and when you're a sector definer, you're always going to have the attention on you. And so the points program was to get off zeros. So it was really important to prove up the supply side of the Eigenlayer marketplace and get TVL in the doors. So when you're first mover, you're a sector definer, and you have something new offering points, which the speculation of the conversion of points into the token and what that would convert to, so potentially yield generating. When you have those factors involved, it's going to generate a lot of hype. And as Mike was saying, so now it's trailing off into no more points, and we're just focusing on delivering on developing the protocol and building out the demand side of the marketplace, which is the AVSs and the AVS consumers. So in answer to your question, I think it's just a normal course of a new project and offering new things that get a lot of attention.
Yeah, that's fair. And I don't want to focus on like the history too much. I know you said that you have exciting updates coming out, perhaps some new AVSs. So what are you excited about? Which AVSs can you name specifically which are enabled by the shared security of Eigenlayer? And EigenDA is very promising, will be the host to some like very exciting layer 2s like movement, mega ETH and such.
Yeah.
Other than EigenDA, like what do you think are the exciting AVSs that are coming up?
We, in our position as Eigenlayer protocol being the coordination layer to foster open innovation on the marketplace, we are neutral. So whatever AVS comes to us, and we can help in any way. But to your question, there has been a trend, an early trend of a lot of oracles and bridges launching, very high quality, great projects. So looking forward, other types of AVSs coming forward, shared sequencing and co-processors. So I don't want to name names specifically, but as we are neutral and we're a marketplace, but there are some really, really incredible AVSs and AVS teams that are coming forward and building on Eigenlayer and utilizing the shared economic security and the value proposition that we provide.
Yeah, I want to add that, with the Eigenlayer, basically, putting out the framework and the platform for AVS to grow, it really changed as a venture investor, how startup founders go about and build and raise money. And interestingly, the overshoot and hype in the restaking space also went into a bit of an overhype in fundraising with the AVS projects in the early stages with much higher valuation than they would normally be able to raise. But because of that kind of shared security or the trust and the guarantee that they can bring on this Eigenlayer growth momentum, some of these AVSs were able to kind of ride the wave together. But since the topic you mentioned is the tough summer on restaking, I think that toughness is coming to the AVSs as well.
Yeah.
Now that everything's out and the tokens out and the point systems are kind of now cleared out, okay, how do these AVSs survive and how do they differentiate as actual product and not be I guess recognized as AVS, because AVS is quite kind of jargon term for a startup to say if you're an AVS, right? You gotta be a certain business offering certain solution. So as a venture investor, I'm quite curious to see all these kind of seed, pre-seed projects that are so-called AVS grow into kind of profitable business or kind of sustainable protocols, going beyond just Eigenlayer or EtherFi ecosystems.
I don't think we do sustainable and profitable in crypto. Very hard to find that, but perhaps the AVS economics can enable that. Mike, I know as EtherFi, you're also an operator and delegate specifically to certain AVSs. So perhaps Freddie cannot name names, but are there some that you are more excited about the AVS ecosystem? I'm sure you're deeply in touch with them as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of really interesting projects. In no particular order, I'm a big fan of Lagrange, which is a ZK coprocessor. So it lets you basically do computations on chain in a way that would be, that you otherwise would have to do off chain. And we're actually going to be using that to do our calculations around rewards for our EtherFi Cash card. So this is the cashback rewards for our wallet and credit card are going to be computed using Lagrange. So that's a really cool one. We're going to be doing a bunch of cross-chain stuff with Omni, which is a cross-chain solution. eOracle, I think we're using that in a couple of different contexts, which is in an Oracle solution built as an AVS. So I mean, those are three random examples, but there's tons of stuff. I mean, there's dozens of really interesting projects that we're looking at. And in fact, we at EtherFi are building our own internal AVSs to create more utility for our governance token. Specifically, we're using it to secure part of our cross-chain infrastructure and a couple of other applications that, so I think this is a very broad design space that's going to evolve actually really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to move over a little bit towards the category that's been created and the competition that's sprung up, right? So Eigenlayer was the first restaking platform. Now there are at least 3 or 4 more on Ethereum, maybe a couple more across different other chains. So, this discussion was recently raised on crypto Twitter, but what is the point of restaking on Solana? So is there I'll give the time to Freddie as well, but maybe Mike, I've seen LRT protocols bridge out and support other restaking platforms. So do you have an opinionated take on how these other restaking protocols, how they have a competitive moat or sustainability or whatever it is we look for?
Well, I mean, I think, and hopefully Eigenlayer, would agree, it's healthy to have multiple players in an ecosystem. I think there's a lot of value in people experimenting with different models, and Symbiotic, I think, is the number 2 now, and then Karak is another one. Nectar is another one that's popping up, and I think there's I forget the name. There's a Solana one. So there's a whole ecosystem of these projects. Each one is taking a slightly different approach. Like Nectar, for example, is doing all the way from the validators, DVT, restaking as a full single stack. Eigenlayer is much more of kind of an open ecosystem. I think it's healthy. I think it's good. But certainly, obviously, Eigenlayer is the leader in this space.
I agree. Thank you for the kind words. No, we encourage it as well. I mean, as I said, we're a coordination layer for open innovation, and if it comes from within the Eigenlayer ecosystem or within the industry, we of course want to foster that and promote that as much as possible.
Beck, from your perspective, Sriram recently had this tweet covering, the industries or the sectors that Eigenlayer has spawned, the operators, LRTs, AVSs. So do you have an opinion on how the value flows? What is the most exciting part of this stack from an investor's perspective of the different players in the restaking ecosystem, including maybe even the base layer, perhaps the roll-ups. There's, it coordinates among many different like entities.
Yeah, I think you put it earlier well in that you mentioned how nothing here is profitable or sustainable. And one of the skepticism myself we had as a fund on the whole space was a value capture around restaking. Yes, the demand and the product market fit on why this is appealing for the investor makes sense. But as a venture investor investing in those tokens itself wasn't super clear, even for AVS or other LRT and such. So we've been very conservative on approaching and investing in specific those governance tokens that launch these protocol. But the capital formation has been super efficient, whether that's TVL or the token itself. So the sprawling ecosystem around it and how we can leverage it to build around it is something that I'd be looking more into on kind of the value cap. So AVS is building around it to grow further on there, building their own business model is very interesting. We touched a bit on like other ecosystem like Solana and others. I was very skeptical on also like restaking and DA on Solana as well. And I think it makes sense in that there's a capital formation there, the huge network, and there's that demand from the retail and the investors. Then there is a product market fit, at least for this current timeline of the market. So how can we leverage that as a businessman or a builder? I think is also opportunity in terms of value capture, so-called in a crypto way. So when I see the value capture in these kind of trendy new primitives, I almost approach it as almost like how can we capture attention, not so much value. That how can we capture the attention and can we see the potential for value down the line is something we try to look for rather than value from the beginning, because it's so hard to assess how exactly the value gets captured on such tokens in the crypto as it's changing so fast.
I'm a believer in crypto economic security, so I buy the intersubjective universal work token idea. I wrote a report on Eigen the token as well, so I'm a big believer. We're almost out of time. I want to give like everyone on the panel an opportunity on what's coming next. The Eigen token was a successful launch, but what is there to look forward to next?
The AVSs, building out, continuing to promote and help the demand side of the Eigenlayer marketplace. So AVSs, AVS consumers, and we're doing as much as possible to help the AVSs and help them grow.
I feel like I have to set the record straight. So EtherFi is very profitable and very sustainable. We have a different business model, though. No, so look, with EtherFi, our mission is to make DeFi easy and accessible for normal people. What that means is a suite of integrated products that span restaking, deploying DeFi capital, and then spending it in real life. And so that's our three products: EtherFi Stake, EtherFi Liquid, and EtherFi Cash. And our goal is to create this integrated system that means that DeFi native users never have to off-ramp again.
All right, Bake, you want to conclude it?
Yeah, anyone building the space would love to chat. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. That was a great chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.